I'll call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is please duly note that all commissioners except for Commissioner Triplett are here. And we will have item number 2 is the approval of the minutes you received in the mail. You have minutes for May 28th and also the previous ones, which was what date? May 20th. May 20th. Are there any additions or corrections?
Move for approval. Go ahead.
Moved by Wood, Commissioner Murphy seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, negative. The motion is carried. Mr. West, we were going to put you at the end of the agenda because you just came in the door, but since we have a couple items that have to wait till 4:30, I will allow you to come forward and make your presentation.
Sure.
You do this for us, please.
Last and put them on. A little bit busy. Focus on them is pretty tough. Okay. The reason I requested to be here was in '98, after discovering more things about my daughter's death. Since the police report was intentionally withheld, Howard Swanson still cannot provide an explanation for all the delays. I discovered that it looked like she was actually dead for at least a little while before this 911 call was even made. And it seemed like no one wanted to even look into that. And so, then I found out Mr. Polovitz, the county coroner, has a job description under the law. He was refused to do it. And no one seemed to enforce that. Then the county wasn't for having another doctor review it, but Tim Moore that I was, if he got involved and something completely changed because the guy, I talked to him on the phone and his opinion changed drastically. Excuse me. So, anyway, with finding out almost 2 years later, Mr. Polovitz actually did do a shoddy little county coroner's report because it was part of the state medical examiner's file. There were a bunch of things in there that just don't even make sense. There's a lot of things everywhere that don't make sense. The idea in a scene of death like this. When a body has been moved, you can get a secondary shifting pattern. If you're on your face, you'll be all purple blue. If they turn someone's hampers and turn you over your back, there'll be a lighter superficial pattern. Okay, this is a known fact that most parents and people don't know about, that you'll find when you read. So when we got to this, I was looking, and in every report, they did a beautiful job of hiding anything to attain an approximate time of death. When I addressed it later, no one would do anything about it or bother to look. The medical examiner didn't look at emergency records and falsified emergencies. He didn't want 911 tape. He didn't want the incident report. Reports were withheld from me, and I'll show you why. You get into the external examination, and it talks about rigidity as well developed upper lower extremities and jaw muscles. And you look some of the more. The lividity is purple-red, fixed over the posterior surfaces of the body, the fixed lividity over the right side of the face and head. Slightly modeled apparent livers over the chest and abdomen. So we wrote the circumstances up, and suddenly became unresponsive about being held by her grandmother at home. She was transported to a local emergency room where death was pronounced a short time later. Things of that nature. So the fixed lividity wouldn't have had time to settle in under those circumstances. It just wouldn't have had time. It's not really possible. So, like I said, this is a fraud. And then Polovitz tried to say that that was the medical examiner's job. The medical examiner tried to say that that was Mr. Polovitz's job. And they passed this around this way repeatedly. And no one would actually investigate the death in the manner that they actually investigate deaths. And I think you all remember that because no one would enforce it or make sure that was done. So, what I discovered then, after getting noticing that lividity, I remembered, I looked at the pictures of holding her, and noticed that I'm always holding her in my left arm. My left, her right. That's what that was. So they knew this couldn't have been true. They knew it wasn't true. It couldn't have been true. But they put down the false circumstances anyway. And I requested repeatedly that Dr. Polovitz conduct these duties as you're supposed to under law in every death. And no one wanted to enforce it. So at that point, I took a look in, and it took forever to get these things because the state was using their typical delay tactics of, withholding the photos from me and whatnot as long as possible. But to give you an example, because they intentionally, with camera tricks and lights, tried to hide that, they were staring at, there's a picture of her 2 weeks when they were supposed to die. They were staring at roughly something like this. Then this last Thursday, I couldn't be Wednesday. I remember her hands did nothing like that. I just sort of rephrased. We were looking at a purple blue color on the side of her face and head. Something you could not have missed on the CPR. That means she's not being resuscitated. She's got a long time lying on her back with her head leaning to the right. Because that's where the blood would settle. Okay? So I would hope this medical examiner would know that. Finally, after a lot of runarounds, April 1st I received the slides. So, for 3 weeks I couldn't look at these things. I opened one back up before I got the slide scanner. And I noticed this breathing tube and all this tape. And I thought, wait a minute. Right when I walked in, pronounced dead, after Mr. McMillan attacked me, we were holding her wrapped in these heated blankets. This is the first picture taken. She's clothed. This is a toe tag covering her foot. Okay, there's a reason for that too. I just figured this out last Thursday and Friday. There's paint on the bottom of the other foot. Okay. That tube wasn't there while we were holding her. Mr. Polovitz was down there and he asked me how old she was. Said she was a big girl for her age, and don't worry, we'll get to the bottom of everything. By this time, this kind of tampering had already been taking place. And you can see the right ear is purple-red. And if you zoom way in and go to Adobe Photoshop and you look along the hairline here, the fixed lividity is in there. With that angle, you can't see it. So whenever they wanted to not display what would have been obvious to everyone because it's too implicating, they avoided taking any pictures of the right side of her face and head. The two wasn't there. So what is it doing back there? That was written in the autopsy report as evidence of medical intervention. Dr. Polovitz at this point, the county coroner, has legal custody of her body. So why are her feet changed and why is this tube back there? Okay, that was put there later. Alright, when we get to the next picture, it's interesting. They always the left side. Several pictures of her lying in her left side all the time. Never the right side. Because that's too implicating. That's why I've had to recreate roughly what we were looking at. It gets to point two. And then here's another one. And then by the way, that tape is very, very clean. We were holding her for a while. Things like that, that white spot tape does get dirty pretty easy. This stuff is clean. We'll put that later. Here's a picture of her face. Here's the little light tricks. I don't imagine they ever thought people would catch on to this, but I just happened to have my degree and expertise in that. When you take a picture of her face, it's interesting. Someone's holding her head. Well, they're leaning it over to the right. Now, why should I even have to be going through this? When these people really have to. That's an obvious sign to try and hide the right side of her face and head. Okay? Because here's the shadow coming down here. Probably within a doctor's office, the lamp with the reflector. This is an incandescent light here. This is high in yellow. You can measure that color in Photoshop. Touch the edge here, you get high in red. One ear is red, one ear is white. What that amounts to is, supposing this is the front of a face, here's the red. Turn it a little bit, put a lot of light on it, take the picture from this side, and see, I don't see nothing. They keep little light tricks. So, and then there's the model patches that tape made. Whenever they wanted to hide something, they blasted things out with light, or they used total darkness. Here's one. Where the right side of her face and head would show. Only there's no light there at all. It's nearly dark. Boy, it really gets dark in this room and light fast, doesn't it? That's because they knew. No one should have brought her out of there. So, when you heighten and brighten that up, you can bring out the lighting in there. Now, this is the time map. The thing that the secondary lividity, if you only move it slightly, will happen on top of the fixed lividity or around that area. Here's the one picture of her lying on her stomach. Here's what fixed lividity looks like after 6 to 12 hours and even more than 6 to 12 red. Okay. So you see that? One ear is very dark purple red. One ear isn't. That's the right ear. Here's the pattern. The white is where there was too much pressure for the blood to settle. Now these people know these things. And they're talking about secondary lividity. Like on her neck here, that was put there with a white crease in her neck from moving her into a CPR position, and the pinching it to keep it white. You know, at the bottom of the leg. There's a total different shade of color and tone there. Anyway, point being is usually secondary lividity is created. Typically, it's hard to tell when that secondary shift occurred too if you find someone that hours later. So, but this was created by the medical people, so this is time stamped. I know exactly when that occurred and for how long and whatnot, that kind of thing. So why are they creating secondary lividity during CPR when you don't perform CPR and life support on someone with fixed lividity? Then last Thursday I noticed her hands. Dr. Mizell commented on her evenly trimmed with somewhat long fingernails. And her fingers are the darkest parts. They're producing different things. They're the darkest parts there. Along with the bottoms of her feet being pink and then being very purple, hands and feet are the obvious signs when you evaluate whether there was a struggle or not. And this looks like a woman's struggle. So she was lying on her back at the head of the right bed. This was the struggle to her death. And had been dead for hours before this fake 911 call was even made. And I'm assuming people knew this because you're staring right at it in these pictures. Then I noticed they inked up the bottom of her feet, and I read about that being a sign of struggle. So then I go looking into this grieving kit that they give you, this silly little kit with a lock of hair, and wouldn't you know, but out comes this set of footprints. It almost looks caring, gesturally like a bird. See, there's a little, homemade birth certificate from the hospital, footprints. But look at this. That's why they named her feet. I've got a set of death prints on a bird's face. You don't paint a person's feet in a situation like that. Those are the key places to look for some of the struggles. There are a lot of little wrinkles, so that at least left a stamp like that. So, Mr. Polovitz allowed her feet to be inked, a breathing tube to get put back in, and lots of tape.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope you make the right decision.